All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. Today, we have the pleasure of talking with Joel Worsfold. Joel, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Thanks, Chris. Well, my name is Joel Worsfold. My main office is out of West Des Moines, Iowa. I'm a managing director, partner, wealth manager. Been doing this for about 35 years and have a fantastic team back in West Des Moines.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome. I think you are our first Iowa guest. So that's very exciting. We had someone from Missouri within our first 10 episodes, but you're our first Iowa. So
I was interested. You didn't ask him because I saw that podcast because I think that's where Brad Pitt is from, the Springfield.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't. Yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't connect those dots. Should have. They're probably friends.
Who knows? Yeah.
He probably manages Brad Pitt's assets.
Yeah, I don't think so because I think I know who does.
Yeah. Awesome. So can you kind of start at the beginning and tell us how you got in this wild industry?
Well, I think for a lot of us, homework wasn't the funnest thing for us to do, and so as a kid, I struggled with that a little bit. And my dad finally made an agreement that he's going to sit each afternoon when he gets home from work to do his book work, that I'd be doing my homework right in front of him. And back, guys, remember too, this is a long time ago. Over 40 years ago. And so he'd have two different mutual fund investment guys come to the house separately each month. And, you didn't have, I think the newspaper came out like once a quarter or something like that. But anyway, I got interested in the conversations because I didn't want to do my homework. Mm. And then I ultimately started to invest a little bit of my money from my odd jobs I do, paper out, that kind of stuff. Well, I ended up going to college, and of course, at that point, I knew it all because I've been investing a little bit for a little while. And so I hired a financial advisor, ended up getting a job, and I found out that I felt like I got taken advantage from that advisor. And so, Chris, I quit the next day. And again, this was a long time ago. So, like a newly married couple, you're living paycheck to paycheck. I didn't know what it took to be an advisor. But I quit that next day. I got all my licenses in 30 days because living paycheck to paycheck, we didn't have 2 months worth the income for expenses. But I swore that would never happen to one of my clients. And so that's why I got into it. I've never looked back.
Wow. Amazing. That's a good gem how to get your kids interested in stuff. Just have it as an alternative option to boring homework as well.
Correct. Yeah, it worked for me anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you were first starting out, how did you find clients? How did you know who to focus on? Who did you want to serve?
It's interesting today because the people who were hiring, who are younger, even if you talk to them, they have no understanding. First of all, it's called a phone book. It's a real big, thick book. With
what book?
Yeah, correct. I know you had someone on the other day with the pensions. I think it's from Springfield that started IDS. So did I. And so they'd give you the phone book and you just start calling. Of course, everyone called the wealthiest places in town. And they used to sell leads to you as well. Well, those have been called like 30 times already, but you literally got it out of the phone book. You, of course, went to your family and friends and tried to irritate them into being clients at first. But it was hard because I remember my manager says, we got the greatest job on the planet. We only work half days and you can pick any 12 hours. And that's what we did. It was literally out of the phone.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And then once you got clients, you try to get the referrals.
Yeah, man. Did you have like a cold calling script or strategy you'd employ?
Oh, yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they provided it for you. And then, the good people would start to improvise and get comfortable with it. And, and we do funny things too, Chris, like, you'd get hung up on it all the time. And just to not go crazy, you'd call back, I'm so sorry that we got disconnected. And, it's just a way to make you feel better. But it was brutal back then. It's not like it is today. It was a lot harder.
Man. Yeah, that's rejection via fire hose.
Yeah. Well, the next firm I went to, the old Edward Jones kind of a thought process. You walked door to door.
Oh
Your
wow,
town and every town around you, because in Iowa, a lot of small towns.
man.
Hmm.
Okay, so you developed some thick skin quick.
You did, yeah. So you'd work all day long because you'd walk from house to house, and I had this little teeny recorder that I have in my pocket. And while I was walking from one house to another house, I would record what we talked about, and then I'd work until it got dark, and then I'd sit at the office for hours every night typing all the notes in.
Oh wow,
And then you do it
that's
again the next day. Mm-hmm.
that's very very clever. That was what that was like in the 90s.
Yeah, yeah, late '80s and early '90s, correct.
Wow. Okay,
Mhm.
man, you were tech savvy before your time.
Well, I couldn't remember three houses down, let alone the 50 that I went to every single day. So you had to come up with a better idea, and writing it while you're walking and carrying something with you just wasn't. It didn't work.
Hmm. Yeah.
A different world.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
you were making the best of it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you were just, for lack of a better word, beating your head against the wall, just talking to as many people as humanly possible. And then once, a few of them came aboard, you'd get referrals. And did the business just grow from there, or did you change client finding strategies?
He wasn't smart enough back then. They didn't have all the cool things nowadays. He just kept beating your head against the walls.
Yeah.
I got quoted, and you have to be careful, and certainly have to be careful now. And it actually was in a newspaper clip that I still have. I just skin the cat a little differently than everyone else. When I see something, I see it different than the other people they've gone to. I come up with ideas and processes and thoughts that other people haven't come up with to try to get whatever goal it is the clients trying to get accomplished. And so I've always been known for that. My team, my friends, anybody that's close to me, I have a million analogies. I have a million stories, but I can tell that story so you can see it very, very clearly. The problem is a lot of people say, "Can you say that again?" That I can never say it twice because it just comes to me. But they all wish I would have wrote a book over it.
Mm, yeah. Well, are you is that on the radar?
Yeah, not at this point. I actually did think about it for a while because I still do it. People say, I just, where do you come? Even clients. But what's amazing is because of the way I do this, clients will 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. You remember when you told me that? You remember that story you told me? It sticks with them. They remember it. And it's super helpful when you're trying to get a point across to them that you need them to be passionate about or to remember.
Hmm. Yeah, stories. That's the I hear that's the
It
best way to communicate important info. People will
really is, in my
engage
opinion.
with that. Yeah, that's smart. So, do you do you find clients? I mean, obviously the landscape has changed. What methods do you use to find clients these days? I mean, obviously referrals and any.
Yeah, it's almost all referrals now. My previous firm, again, this is going back over 25 years. It was a major firm, and you had you had the Merrill Lynch's and the Piper Jaffrays back then, and they were all coming after our executives because this is a large firm. I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, I have the same benefits that they do. Why don't I just become really good at it and fish in my own pond?
Mm,
And so I did. And so I said, once I get going on this, when anybody new comes, or when one executive is talking to another executive and they say, who are you using? They're going to sing my name because I'm going to be so focused on it. And that's exactly what I did. 95% of my clients were actually from my company, the company I worked for. And it was referrals. I remember one of the biggest clients I've got. I called him just because I have the list of people who work for the company, and I'd call and he says, "Well, it's about time you called. Sure, I'll see you." It was that easy. And now at the time, I was like, "What are you talking about?" So I go to his office, and he says, "I've been here for, I think it was over 10 years." He says, "I've been wanting to have help. I have a huge income. We got great benefits, but no one's ever asked me. You're the first one." And
Oh my gosh,
one of my other accounts over $10 million, same thing.
that's like
They heard my name, but they're waiting for someone to actually call them. And I
uh,
did.
that's like financial advisor prospecting porn right there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great. But you sit there shocked, like all you have to do many times is just reach out and ask.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And your previous firm, it was a financial advisory firm, or what was it?
It was a financial institution.
Okay.
People can Google it; they'll find it.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't need to name them. So, you were working there, and then you decided to go out on your own. What inspired you to kind of search for greener pastures?
Well, I think it started a little bit before that, Chris. I met this wonderful person, Ron Carson, and he had um, a training program, and I kind of hit a glass ceiling. Yeah, it was a big number, but I still hit the glass ceiling at that point. I need to figure out how to get through this, and there was a gentleman that just left the board at CFP, who his name is Greg Opitz. He was one of the best coaches I've ever seen, and he helped me break through those glass ceilings. But what they taught me to do is you have to have a system and a process for everything, so you can be scalable. And you have to remember, Chris, this is a long time ago. It's like discretion was just, you hear pension plans, or you didn't have individual advisors doing discretion for the most part back then. And Greg says, if you're going to be a real advisor, you have to have discretion. And I'm like, I don't want that risk. I mean, I have to be honest with the client. Everyone already knows that. You should put the client first no matter what anyway, even before the fiduciary thing come around. But once I explain it and they agree with it, then that's on them. Or fiduciary, and discretion, that changes the rules a little bit. So I really didn't want to do that. And of course, they convinced me. And so when you start putting all this stuff together, you got systems and processes in place, you got discretion, so you can treat everyone same and equally as best as possible. Then you really start getting a machine. And at a lot of these financial institutions, it's not that they don't get it, Chris, but they can't get it done. And so I think a lot of times the questions I get from you guys is, how did you become so successful? And I didn't. And I don't know very many people that I did. We did. They taught me how to put a team together and genuinely care for them as their family, their personal life, at work, and be intimately involved. And my team would step in front of a bullet for me, as I would do for them. I was able to, through the help of Carson, paint that picture, paint that view of what I wanted this practice to be. And then I gave them a voice so that they could help create the picture. And then ultimately I gave them a brush so that they could brush the picture as well. And then you start getting, hey, they're involved in it. This is their entity, their business. And then they become very passionate. Well, the problem with that is I'm getting older. At some point, I'm going to retire. And the clients love my team. I just do the high-end review process. They do everything else. And so they know who to call, when to call, and it's rarely going to be me. And so if they truly are family and they mean everything to me, these financial institutions don't really have a great succession plan so that I can pass this on. The client wants to keep the team. They don't want to be assigned to someone else. The financial institution, for the most part, and I'm not saying all of them are like this, but they would potentially take all my clients and divvy them up to either attract another advisor or to support one of the other bigger advisors. Right? The clients don't want that. And then my team doesn't have a job, potentially. And so the number one reason I left is for my team, so that I know they'd be secure going forward, not only with their careers, but with this huge business that we created.
Mm.
I know it's kind of long-winded, but that there's your honest answer.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Where did you discover the power of this team, and how do you attract and retain amazing team members?
It was Carson. Chris, I went through so many support help, because just because you're passionate about it and it means everything to you, to drive people to work. Because like I said, a 12-hour day was the start of a day. I mean, every day was 12 hours
Yeah.
or more.
Yeah.
But you
Half
can't
day.
expect, what's that?
Said half day.
It's a half day, exactly. But you can't expect that if you haven't shared that vision and you don't genuinely care for their outside interests and what's going on in their life, it's difficult to create that passion with one person, let alone 8 of them that I have, to drive that business forward because it's just the right thing to do and they have the same passions as you do. But when they help create the vision, the view, the company, it does change. And I pay them. In the building we're at right now, I pay extra so that they can park underneath the building. I've given anywhere from $5,000 up to multiples and multiples of that as bonuses when they've gotten into a situation. Maybe they got into a health issue or during weddings. I show up big. I show it to them. I'm intimately involved. They're intimately involved with me. And then I get trust through that, Chris. So the hardest thing for me to do back in the day was, and they made me do it. My team made me do it. When I ask for something to get done or we have it in notes after we've had a review with someone, I don't ever see it again. Back in the day, I need an email back. I need to understand you got that done. I need to understand what you sent, how you sent it. And Carson, through the training program, I just, Joy, if they make a mistake, correct it so it doesn't happen again. But you got to let all that go. I don't know any of the things that they send out other than I've dictated or one of the other advisors has. They just get it done. It's a perfect symphony. And I can't remember the time that I've had anything back from a client saying, you dropped the ball on that. We don't drop the ball. It just doesn't happen often.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So it sounds like you've just created a very close knit group of teammates. My question to you, because I tend, we have folks that on support who I work with, who we pay, and I feel a tremendous connection to them. Like it's their daughter's birthday. I just send them money to have a better, more fun at the party.
Yep.
How do you separate a team member from a family member?
I'm not sure I understand the question because they're both. Like for me, I'd show up to the birthday if we're invited. I'm going to just be creative in how I do that, or we're going to call that person and get, I've got a big business transaction I'm doing right now. And it was interesting because it was late last night and one of the attorneys, their kids were sitting in the background because this was an unexpected Zoom call. The kids, young kids, were sitting in the background. They said, Dad, why is he getting so passionate? What's going on with this guy here? And so he recorded them and sent it to me last night of the kids saying, congratulations, Joel, we're proud of you. They didn't have no idea why. So, but that's the kind of relationships that, I try to get involved with and be on top of and intimately and involves to let them know I genuinely care. I mean, Chris, I gave up a lot. I mean, when you produce like I do where I was at before, there is a huge set of golden handcuffs that I gave up to move, to protect them. It is more than most people make in their career. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously when you're considering adding a new team member, you have to make sure they're a good fit. Do you do anything specific to, walk before you run, date before you get married?
That's a great question. Yes, I stay out of it almost completely. I get the final word. Carson's a great help with that, but my team does it. And when they all, and it's a little bit intimidating when you have someone come in, you got 4 or 5 people sitting in front of you that are really successful. It can be intimidating, but I also want to see how they're going to handle that because we've got some pretty big clients that are going to be sitting across the table from me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, it's not my forte. I'm terrible at it. Hence all the people I went through at the beginning. I remember the first advisor, or my last advisor, the second to last that I just hired. I told Greg, my coach, it said, I just want someone like me. He says, absolutely not. There's absolutely no way I'm letting you hire. I need, and we call him Freddie. He's a polar opposite of me. Unbelievable friend of mine, but he is nothing like me at all. And that's what makes us run well.
Yeah.
But I stayed out because I know what I'm not good at, and I'm definitely not good at that because I'd hire me all day long.
Yeah. Well, you see the value in it, so
Mhm.
that's the most important part.
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you mentioned earlier that succession planning, retirement is at least on your radar. What is your plan there if you're
Less than
thinking
3 years.
Wow. Okay.
The team I put together, we've been planning this. Clients, for the most part, understand it as well. We've been planning this for about 3 years now already. It's been the thought process for 5, but all the wheels are in motion so that, you think of Charles Schwab. Seen Charles lately? Okay. Just not that I'm comparing myself to him, but it's a compliment when you're just not needed as much in the day-to-day workings. And quite frankly, running this sides of a business, I just don't have the time. And so the team has to pick that up. And ultimately that's who they're going to go to. And of course, Chris, I want to see it. It's like gifting to my kids, and we're just getting ready to make gifts to our kids. And if you don't think I'm not watching how you're handling the money, because it's my money, it will get sent to you a little differently than maybe your sibling. And so I also want to see how they're tracking with the clients, how the clients are tracking with them, and because they're certain, they're used to a certain expectation, a certain outcome, and they're everything to me. So I want to make sure that continues on forever.
Mhm. Awesome.
So
Awesome.
I got Gen 2 and Gen 3 on the team.
Smart. A lot of different perspectives there. It's very valuable. So is the plan to just pass the book of business on to the next generation, or what's the succession plan if you're comfortable sharing, to the extent you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, well, they'll, whoever takes the book over will obviously have to buy it, purchase it, and go through that process just like anybody else would.
Mhm. Got it. So Joel, what is the retirement advisory committee that you created last year?
Oh, great question, Chris. As I've said, I've been doing this for 35 years, and I've seen a lot of bad stuff. And what was supposed to be a joyful experience, a lot of what us our financial advisors do is we help you save so you can actually get to retirement, because that's the big goal. But yet, when many people get there, it's devastating. Their whole social, everything that they are is built into where they're working. And so trying to figure out that next chapter is hard. I've seen death, I've seen divorce, I've seen alcoholism. It's not, these aren't good outcomes. And up until I got close to retirement, sitting like, why are you flipping out on this? Is what you planned for? You did it. You're here. And so I got to think, I said, why wouldn't I go to my current clients? Because they all went through it too. And I'll grab some that were recently retired, people who've been retired for a little while, then people retired for a long time. And so they're the mentors. And then as I have a client that's either slightly into retirement or preferably getting into or approaching it, I try to match those personalities that we typically have 2 mentors on the call with the mentee. And of course, we go through the rules. We don't talk about investments at all. And trust me, they don't want to. This is not, with my clients, it ain't about the money. This is all up here. And so 98% of them don't realize that they have the same issues that the mentors have. They think it's just them. And so they're able to, hey, this is in a confidential setting. This is how I feel. And you can see the mentors and they're great at listening because they've been there, they get it, they let them get it all out. And then they just start sharing, here are the things that we do. Here's what we did. And you can just see these people just, oh, I got so much notes. And they're writing notes and again, it's like a great therapy session. The 50 minutes goes really fast. And I figured that's all we would need. But the issues don't go away because of one meeting. And so we end up doing a monthly meeting where we have a really, really close knit group that we meet every single month, and it's kind of like church, we built this community. But I also have one that's quarterly, which is a much larger group, and and even the larger group has gotten to know each other pretty well, but they're able to share, this is how I'm feeling, and you can see everyone on the Zoom, just or at least most of them, like this, and then they'll share, hey, these are the things that I did to help work through that. And then the next query is, we come back and say, well, how did that work? How did you feel? And then we just keep moving it forward. But we create this huge community, and it's probably the single best thing I've ever done. And the clients, the minute we get done with the Zoom, we get feedback from them instantly. I've had people in tears. You can't understand, Joel, how much this has meant to me, and what have you. So it's been a fantastic part of our value add system.
Wow. And is that just available to clients, or is this public facing?
Very good question, Chris. We struggle with that. It's really invitation from our current clients. If we have someone that does call in, we'll vet those people. We've pretty much decided we do one with them, and then we expect you to be a client, because this is a value add. And again, I haven't seen this done anywhere else. And like we've been doing it well at least a year now, so we've got it kind of under control. But we also don't want it to get gigantic, or we're gonna have to think of phase 2 and what have you. But if someone wanted to reach out, we'll vet them. If that works, we'll do one with them, and then we'll want them to become a client to continue on with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Otherwise, the current clients invite someone, or one of the advisors will invite them because, hey, we're going to take this client on. And I don't think I've got a single person in the last several years, and certainly the last year and a half that we've been doing this, that we brought this up and they said, yeah, I'm not interested in it. They're like, never heard of this. I can't believe you understand what I'm going through.
Well, yeah, you saw the need for it, like, directly, like you literally had clients on their deathbeds, and you're like, how can I help here?
Well, it's interesting too, though, Chris, because I have an advisory committee just for my business. So some of my best clients helping us give direction on if we want to change the way we're doing something, or what do you think about this or that. So they help guide the business. I brought this to them 10 years ago, actually slightly over 10 years ago. And they said, no, that's not what we hired you for. It was a great idea. It was too early for them. How many Amazons were probably started way before Amazon? They just couldn't get to Amazon. And so it was frustrating because I could see the need. I saw the hurt. I saw the pain. I saw the destruction, but it just wasn't ready for the tread.
Yeah. Awesome. And listeners can find out more info at carsonwealth.com or where?
Yeah, Carson Wealth, West Des Moines. We'll get to our direct website. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Cool. Anything else you want to share around there?
No, I don't think so. That's just one of the most exciting things I've done recently, because I get to feel and see the actual help, non-financial, that we're bringing to the clients.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just want them to live their best life. Money's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be figuring out, we do our retirement planning, and you get a Monte Carlo, which I won't get into. That's kind of controversial lately too, but I don't want my clients living in retirement at a 98, 99, or 100 Monte Carlo score. You've wasted your life. Don't do 3 out of your 10 bucket things because you're always worried about the money. It's just a tool. Let us help you define your picture, your view of what that life is going to be, because you only get one. You don't get to do it over. And Chris, I ask a lot of times, write your obituary. And people look at when I was first told that by Carson, like, first of all, I don't want to do it. I don't get the point of it. And again, this is part of the training that they had, the coaching program. So they had us in Omaha, and I just struggled with it, Chris, because I was just young enough. I just didn't get it. And so, yeah, I wrote something down. We were in teams, and we kind of got something put down. And they took us into another room, which I did not know was coming. And so they sectioned off the entire room. It was, you had the lights down low, they had the funeral music going, but there was a casket in there. And there was no joking around. They had your peers sitting in there just like it was a funeral. And then you laid in it. By the way, that's not a posturpedic bed in those.
Whoa.
And so you laid in it. And Chris, the second I lay down that, oh my Lord, did it hit me like there's no tomorrow. Then my coach read what I wrote. And it was everything I could do not to climb out of that thing. I don't want that. If that was real, I don't want that said about me. This is where I actually started even giving more. I don't want that said about me. And so if you can get a client to do that, and they can define what wants to be said in their eulogy, then let us take their money to help them live that. So they're not sitting there like a lot of the clients I've been in their bedside when they passed away with regret because they were always worried about the money and they didn't do the things they get to do. And the one life that we don't get do-overs. So make it count. It's not a sales pitch. This is real.
Awesome. So I do like to ask one rather open-ended question to close out the show, and you can take it in any direction you want. I think we may have danced around it a little bit. The question is, what are you working towards?
Well, to be successful, I think you have to have systems and processes. I think you have to have a great team. But the number one thing that's been heavy on my heart, my kids make these decisions with me. They've done it ever since they were little kids. Too much is given, you should give. And so making this world a way better place than I got into it. We try to help a family every single month, which actually gets hard to do. I've got risk counselors at the schools surrounding where I'm at, and my passion is children. And there's a lot of people in need that are right beside us, right around us, everywhere, all the time. And so to be able to give back, and 99% of the time they have no idea who Lynette, my wife, and I are, because I don't need the recognition. Don't want the recognition. Don't ever bother me about it either. But I have a huge drawer full of letters that they write back to the risk counselor. So thanks for little things that you and I take for granted. So to continue to give and potentially set up a foundation to really make a difference in as many people's lives as I can, that's the biggest thing for me now, and it has been for quite a little while.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. It sounds like that focus will expand in about 3 years as well.
Without a question. Yep.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to be married for 28 years to a woman that she's every breath that I take. And so being able to just spend time with her, because when you care this much, I envy those advisors out there that can genuinely care for the client, but they can go home and they're at peace during that time. I just can't do that. I'm answering emails and stuff. Because I want to, but just to be able to focus on her and just have the time, because we have so much fun together. Like I said, she's every breath that I take. I'm looking forward to that as well. So those would be the two, but the leave the world a better place is huge for me.
That's beautiful. And there's no doubt in my mind that you are on that path, my friend. So
thanks, Chris.
I'll be watching you. Joel, where can our audience find out more about you?
Carson Wealth, West Des Moines, is our website. You can look us up there, and we've got all kinds of videos on the website on different things that we do and how we do it. We've got some interesting things that in fact, that I don't think there's another one in the country that I know of for retirement individuals. We mostly focus on 50 and over and getting ready and into retirement.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. We'll be sure to link all those in the show notes. Joel, Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and my audience today. For everybody out there listening, thanks so much for tuning in. Keep on growing out there, everybody. See you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Joel.